Three, two, one, and we are live with the podcast. Hello, world. My name is Michael Segalini, and here today we have Nick Allard. Nick is a guest today, and he is I'll let him speak for himself. Nick, welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me on.
Tell us about you.
I am a videographer on the journey to becoming a filmmaker. I went to school for film and eventually got out. Never thought I'd ever run a business. And as time went on, I graduated from school, and like any artist, I was at that point in my head where I'm thinking, okay, well, now what? And so decided at like a year later, like, oh, you know what? I've realized after being in the bubble of just filmmaking, have to be in the film industry, that my skills could be used to help businesses. So I figured, hey, you know what? Let me give this a shot. And so I went and, of course, thinking that, hey, I survived film school. I could totally run a business. How hard could it be? And then, ever since I just been working and learning more and more and more. Went to film school, not business school, so it's still just always adapting, always learning, and it's been good. It's been good, just growing and growing, and getting closer to achieving the big goals that I want to do, and start funding and creating those passion projects and narrative filmmaking, while also just growing a team of other videographers in a community that helps out other businesses. And it totally opened up my world to what I can do and how many people I could help out. So all good stuff.
Yeah, tell them where they can find your website.
So if they Google Theta State Studios, that is my company. Theta, Theta, State, State, Studios. Those are all separate words. If they just Google that, they'll find my website. You can find us on YouTube, on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok as well. So that's, basically all the platforms, even on LinkedIn, actually. Don't want to forget LinkedIn.
Yeah. So what do you guys got coming up? What do you got coming up?
For stuff coming up right now, we are typically January through March are the slow months, which is good because I'm setting up a lot of stuff, getting things ready for this year. I'm definitely predicting that a lot of our work going into this year and forward, potentially what could be what keeps us busy is micro content. And what is micro content? Micro content is like a bunch of social media content, and for me, being in video, it'd be vertical videos under 1 minute, and that would be anything from a talking head down to social media ads. And so that's going to be there's going to be a lot of that going forward. That's something that a lot of businesses all need. Basically, because of the pandemic, it's accelerated where video was needed, like by possibly a decade. So everybody needs it. Everybody knows they need it. It's just a matter of trying to help out those who are really in need of it, and how we can, where it's a beneficial process where we can both, I make money and they get a bunch of marketing materials. But yeah, so a bunch of stories. This year it's going to be a lot more about volume than polish. My job is to take whatever we can that they provide and polish it up. So to give some context to that, we a lot of times, a lot of businesses, especially small businesses, can't afford to bring us out to film their content. So, but a lot of times they're filming their own content. So what we've said is we've offered this new service where if they film their own content, they can send that content to us, and we can just charge them an editing fee. And so we'll just edit it for them professionally. So that way it helps them save on the budget, and it helps them grow a video library to the point that hopefully as they continue to grow, and if that relationship goes and they're ready to actually step up their video production game, we'll be able to move on to the next step of the process. But anyway, so long-winded answer. I guess the big thing is this year expanding the team. I keep saying we. I'm used to saying we so often. It is just me right now, but I do have people in mind that I intend to hire. Some of them I do even bring out with me on set. Sometimes as training, sometimes as just needed help. And but hopefully this year is going to change that, where I'll officially be able to start bringing on some employees and get that part going. But yeah, lots of plans, lots and lots of plans.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just thinking about that too, about as far as taxes go, because this year it's a zero, so which is nice. I mean, it really is. Well, it's nice, but it's not. Well, it's nice when you're starting and you know how to, you realize that you're probably not going to be making money.
Right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
talk about your equipment you have.
Oh, there's a lot. I've admittedly I went a bit too gung ho when I first started my business, and I dropped like 15 grand on all of the equipment. Built up so much credit card debt because when you're starting, it's really. I didn't realize this till recently, where it's like it would have, even if I wanted to go and apply for a business loan, it would have been extremely difficult because you want to have that history and of having a business. That's where it makes it a lot easier for banks to give you a business loan. So I did what I only thought I could do. So I went and applied for a bunch of credit cards. Got a bunch of credit cards, spent a lot of debt, and spend the rest of that time paying it off while working a day job. But going into equipment, I've got two. For any of you camera nerds out there, I've got two Blackmagic Pocket cinema cameras. Went straight to the cinema camera instead of the DSLR. I got a lot of lights, especially from the brand Aperture. They're a really great brand. I love their brand. I'd like to continue to stay in their brand if possible. And just tons of stands, tons of tripods. I'm a gearhead. I could go on and on and on. I've got like literally lists of equipment that I want to get. Always, it's the toys. I love the toys, especially now that I've been playing a lot more and trying to improve my lighting game. I realize more and more like, oh dang it, I need to get more lights. But you can make a lot work with what you got, and that's the thing that I didn't get when I first started. I try to tell people that are aspiring to be either a video business owner or trying to be a filmmaker or whatever. If they're asked like, what do you want to do what should I get to get started? And I go, honestly, the stuff that I got like 5 years ago, there's already things that far outperform it and are a quarter of the price. So you could literally start right now. Hell, you could start with just your phone. Like, the phone quality is gotten so good that to the average viewer, they're not going to be able to tell. It really comes down to what you're paying for the expertise behind the phone. You're paying for the expertise of someone who knows how to film. They have the eye. They know how to light. They know what kind of angles to intrigue. And then especially, you're paying for how to edit footage appropriately and try to make sure it's engaging and that it's going to help out your clients. And right now, I don't want to say any video helps, but really, like, video content is always going to surpass that of a photo. If you can make it into a video, it's always going to get more engagement. It's more needed now than ever. To give an example, it's not really a fact or anything that I'm spitting out, but I just know that I would bet everyone who is listening to this, if you were to go to a website right now, any website, and they had a video and underneath that was a paragraph, just a few sentences about us, you would rather watch that video, click that first and watch that before you even read a word of that paragraph. Nobody really wants to read anymore. They want to be engaged. They want to feel like they know who they might be spending money on. And that's one of the ways to help potential clients get to better understand you. What do you sound like? What do you look like? Could I help them imagine what it would be like to envision working with you? And video helps you do that, and it's more needed than ever. Down everything from about us stuff down to just simple tutorials on what you do. There's a lot that can be used to help grow your business, and it can. But yeah, I kind of went off tangent. But going back to gear, yeah, I could go all day. I love Blackmagic, but I'm definitely looking into upgrading my cameras. Another goal this year, and I am excited about that. So working towards it.
So on lighting, yeah, that's a big thing I've noticed too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, talk more about that. What do you mean? You use the term enhancing angles or something?
Well, there's a lot. Here's the thing: is you could argue that lighting is more important than the camera that you have currently. Most cameras are going to put out now. It's gotten to a point where most cameras put out a really good quality, really good. And again, to the average person, you're not going to be able to tell. At the same time, and a big part of that is lighting. Because cameras now are putting out from your phone camera to a cinema camera, they can put out a good image. So there's not much excuse if you want to say, "Whoa, I need a big red cinema camera to try to make sure I get the look that I want." It's like, it definitely helps. You can record raw, but the thing is, you can have horrible images and video even with a $50,000 Arri camera without good lighting. If you light something properly, it'll look way better. It's what enhances it at this point. And so, having really been able to put the magnifying glass on that skill set, I've been trying to work more and more about how to make that work from high key lighting. So like you would see in, for example, beauty commercials, where there's very little shadows to try to make it look like a clean look. To that maybe something that's more dramatic, where you want to have some shadows, and maybe the corporate look as well. There's a lot of different things. Like lighting helps shape what you're filming. It's whether it could be something that give it a flat look, or you can give it a 3-dimensional look. There's so much that you can do with it and portray from just simple angles to what if there's a certain feeling you're trying to get out of a person. It can get pretty deep, but lighting is so huge. And so again, even if you just have your phone and you're like, "Oh, I don't know how to make this look good," look at lighting. What's the color temperature of the light? What is the does it look flat? Do you have it backlit? Especially if you're doing an interview, are you doing something to try to separate them from the background? Are you trying to light the background? Is there, for a product, are you trying to do some kind of reveal? There's so much that goes into it, and there's a reason why cinematographers, director of photographers in the industry, film industry, video industry, they're they're paid what they got, because they are masters of lighting. They're able to look at the scene. You could tell them, here's the kind of feeling I'm going for, and they would be able to do in their head, okay, cool, I know I have a pretty good idea of how I want to light this. And there's a reason why, if you're on a film set, because filmmaking, it's really cool. It's not fun for anyone that's not a part of the process, because you might go, hey, unless there's like explosions going on, you're gonna be there and you're gonna feel bored, because they'll take like hours, if not an hour, to get a camera set up, get the lighting, shoot one side of a room. All right, cool. Let's now go and set up and do that everything again on the opposite side of the room. And then you're breaking down, and it takes a while to get things set up. You'd be surprised how long it takes for just one shot. Anything that you go and watch some of your favorite shows on, like, I don't know, HBO, which is the gold standard of television in my eyes still, and probably will be for a long time. But we'll see. The streaming wars have just begun. But any one of those shots, even the smallest, like, shots that only are on screen for like maybe a few seconds, can take hours to get the lighting just right. So that's why it can get pretty pricey in that regard. But like I said, things are getting more affordable. Things are getting the output is getting better. It's more efficient. It's definitely an exciting time if you're trying to get into video work.
Yeah, I got this buddy, Donald Baker, lives down in Texas. Anyway, he was telling me all about Rembrandt lighting. That's his thing. So
yeah, yep, Rembrandt. That's based on an artist that when he would paint, there would be like this. I think it's from a 45-degree angle, depending on where you put the on the light, it'll actually cast a shadow over your nose, and there's like this triangle that, depending again on the angle of the light, it'll be on a certain cheek. And that some people are like, well, I want the whole face to be lit. Like, well, don't be afraid of shadows. Shadows help give shape to things. It helps draw things out. It doesn't make it blend in with the rest of the image, depending on what you're going for, of course. But yeah, I try to chase Rembrandt as well as much as I can, because it just looks the most flattering. I really like that look. But sometimes, depending on the project, that may not be what what the lighting is called for. And that's another thing that could be really fun and extremely challenging about video is there's so many different themes, there's so many different messaging, there's so many different things that there's a lot of things that you have to be flexible to try to change. If something's not working, you got to come up with something on the fly sometimes, and that's usually and that's something that only years of experience and continue just to get yourself out there and do it will help you. But yeah, lighting very important, and Rembrandt, if definitely YouTube it. There's so many there's so many tutorials on how to get that effect.
Yeah, so tell me about your movie aspirations.
Oh goodness.
Independent films.
There's so much. I would love to just play, essentially, just make enough money that I can just go and play, start writing some screenplays, start working with some short films, just to get more and more into building up that experience, and then eventually, just at the same time, write more and more independent films and start there, from documentaries, and to maybe even some more quote unquote expensive works, which would be like in the fantasy and sci-fi. Oh, especially sci-fi, depending on how you shoot it. Yeah, I just would love to just be a storyteller. That's what I will live and die a storyteller. That's what I feel like I'm on this earth for, and that's what I want to do. And so, especially if it's when it comes to my goal, I want a big goal right now would be to make a feature film at some point that I wrote, directed, or either, and just grow it from there. Big dream would be to, I would love, this is just, it's a dream, we'll see, fingers crossed, but I would love to see if I could get involved with Star Wars. I would love to be able to tell stories in that universe. Or just, I don't know, there's so many things, I am just a consumer of entertainment. I literally just inject that into my veins as often as I can, and in the form of that right now, it's YouTube. Yeah. Can't get over how like, I don't think I can go a day without being on YouTube, whether it's playing in the background or I'm looking up tutorials or it's for entertainment. There's so much. And trying to just, I just think it'd be amazing if to make an independent film, have it be shopped around at a festival, and maybe, I don't know, like either Paramount, Netflix, or HBO, they're all bidding for it, and then I get to see my movie on one of those platforms, and just continue to go and build a clout and start getting more involved with that industry. And I don't necessarily want to say goodbye to doing working with businesses, but I mean, the reason I started my business was to be used as a vehicle to help fund those passion projects and get me on that path. So I mean, to me, dream goal would be, I have my video production company, which would be dedicated to just businesses. So it might even be an ad agency at that point that does video production, because most ad agencies now realize that they need to have video production. They're trying to keep it in-house. So we'll see. I'm not closing the door on that, but I'd rather just be in the video production timeline for that business, but timeline. But I would have that, and then I'd have another studio, probably on the same lot if I could, and that'd be a film production company that's just all about filmmaking. It's all about just getting the teams together. What do we got to do with these projects? Adapting screenplays, working on tons of different projects, just all filmmaking. And then next to that would also be a animation studio where we can tell stories in that medium, and then also have that medium be able to help both production companies, both film and for businesses, so that can be working in tandem, and they can all be working together. And then next to that would be a video game studio, because I love video games. I love that medium. I've always loved that, and to me, on a more selfish look, I would just love to. I just look at that as extending my playground. I would love to be able to jump into every single one of those mediums and be able to tell different stories and take people along with me on that journey. That would be the ultimate goal at this point.
That's really good. Well, I mean, it seems like you got everything except for distribution.
I mean, a bit. It's there's still a lot to work on. I'm still an extremely small fish, and that's okay. It's like still trying to build up the skill set I have, not only as a business owner but also as a videographer slash an aspiring filmmaker. And I think it's good to not jump headfirst into a big ocean when you are not equipped to survive in that ocean just yet. And so for me, yeah, working with trying to get more works under our belts, and then eventually get to a place where we can confidently go to a distributor. Because I mean, if I'd like to make that negotiation as easy as possible. If we have enough work, a good body of work, and it shows that we definitely speak to an audience, and if we can grow an audience, it makes it a lot easier to work with distributors. It's like, oh, do we, is this, can we take a risk, working with this person and working with this company? And so building a history, building that, I think is one of the things I'm trying to, as much as possible. It's all about, at this point, set up the foundation to make the future an easier ride to go on.
Yeah. What do you use in terms of audio for dealing with audio copyright issues?
So for audio copyright, so like music and sound effects and stuff, right now I use there's a couple of subscription services. I mean, we are in the age of subscription services. I really don't think that's ever going to change unless the laws come in and start doing something. But I use Artlist, art and then list. It's all one word. They've expanded now to doing footage, stock footage, templates, stuff like that. It used to be just music, and it's high quality music. They do have a yearly subscription. I don't even know if they do monthly anymore, but very well known. That's all royalty free, so I don't have to worry about that. And so I use that, and they have a sound effects library that they've built after I joined, so I went and got that too. So the majority of my sound effects and music comes from Artlist. And I don't have to worry about YouTube going and striking it down, because they're like, well, that's copyrighted or anything. And it's been good, and you can use it, and they even say in there too what you can. So when you're looking at a music subscription license, especially if it's a subscription service, they'll tell you if there's, like, if you're posting it somewhere, like what you have to do to make sure that if your client posts it, they're not going to be striked down for posting that work, because the software might think, someone's trying to use your work. So you just have to add them to a list to make sure that they are not going to go through that problem. But I've not had to do that with Artlist. I think I know there are some other websites that do that. I won't list them because I don't know for sure which ones have had that happen. But if you're looking for subscription services for music, there is, like I said, they're just growing. So there's so many. There's MusicBed, there's Artlist, there's what's some other ones? There's I don't think Storyblocks has music. I think that's mostly just stock footage. But you're getting a lot of different places that are offering not only stock footage but also music. They're trying to expand. So it's kind of one of those things. If you just look royalty-free music, Google will just populate so many. And they definitely are getting more affordable. It used to be like stock footage. It used to be something where if you wanted to buy one song, it was going to cost you hundreds of dollars, if not more, depending on what you wanted. And then once you have it, hey, it's yours. But now with the subscription service, it's dropped the cost of that so much. So that's really great, again, for anyone who's starting. For anyone who had that as a business, that is not good for them. So they had to adapt. I was told a story about somebody who made so much money, millions and millions and millions, off of doing stock footage before all these subscription services. And shortly after the subscription services, he had to file for bankruptcy. Because the price of what they were offering, no one was buying. They were just losing money because they were making stock footage and no one was buying them anymore. So I mean, here's the thing too, though. If you're looking to try to just just sell stock footage, you still could. There are websites where you can, if you go through the right processes, you can upload your stock footage. So if you're a videographer or filmmaker and there's footage that you own the rights to, and it's just sitting on your hard drive, it's not doing anything, feel free to upload to stock footage sites. You might be surprised that people might actually go and buy it. Now, granted, unless you are a well-known influencer, or you have a following, or your work is known where people want to use your work, or in general, even if you're not known, unless there's a lot of people buying the clips that you are uploading or downloading them, you're not going to make that much money. So that's another thing to keep in mind, is you don't go into this thinking you can just survive off of just creating stock footage and uploading it, unless you have some other means. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean that you can't upload it and then start earning you create an additional revenue stream. Even if it's a little bit every single month, if you just keep adding to it, it's up there on the site. It's just an additional asset that's working for you. So something to consider. Stock footage can be interesting. It's something that even I have not jumped into just yet. I'm hoping to get started on that later this year, though, and just look at our video library and start uploading stuff. One thing that you want to make sure of is that whatever you're uploading, you definitely have the rights to, and if it's for a client, obviously you want to be careful of branding. But if it's some random shots and a client comes to you and goes, "Cool, I would love to later on. I'd love to buy the rights to all of the footage you have, or that you shot for us," and you've already uploaded to sites where you're making money on because it's open, you might do your due diligence to make sure that I don't even know what that process would look like. Okay, well, so does the money go to them, or does it still go to you? You need to negotiate that. You need to keep track of what clips belong to who. So for me, if I was going to make stock footage or upload some old footage, I'd make sure that it's definitely old and no client's looking at that going, "I want to buy the rights to your footage." And it also may be a situation where that client is moving on. So they may not be a client they would love to keep that footage, so whoever they work with next has that. And that's just all part of business. But that's something that would be my warning if you are going to go and film stuff. I would try to keep whatever you're creating your own creations, because that's your own. You don't have to worry about somebody going to you and saying, "Actually, I would love to buy the rights to that." And then you have to have that awkward conversation of, "Well, I've already uploaded it and I'm earning money from it," and it could be a weird, you might have to do a little bit of some gymnastics to get out of that. It's still yours. You can still just choose not to sell. It's totally up to you, but you also want to think about that customer service aspect too. So, you'll figure it out. People will figure it out. But that would be my suggestion. That's what I'm going to be working on is, if it's old footage I'm uploading, it's old enough. It's been a while, and I'm pretty confident that, clients are not going to come over and say, "Actually, could we have that?" But rather, I would love to get to a point where we're just funding our own footage. We just go and create our own. It's ours. We don't have to worry about anybody coming to us saying that they would like to have the rights to that when it's ours. So, anyway, another little off tangent, because we started off, you asked me about audio. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's going back to just, if you're looking for stuff that's royalty-free music and sound effects, just look that up. Just Google it. There's so many sites that you'll come up with, but the one that I stick to is Artlist.
So I wonder how that would seem like an awkward conversation if somebody just walked up later and said, "Yeah, I'd like to purchase the rights to that," and I may or may not be opposed to selling them the rights. Like, what do I care at some level? And then what does that look like? Is that where NFTs come in?
If they're trying to buy the footage or something, or the rights. I wouldn't so much. I don't think about NFTs too much. It's if they're trying to buy the footage. I even put in our contracts, and again, for anyone who's trying to aspire to do this, make sure that you have this in the contract. If they do want to buy the footage, there is a clause that says that it will cost an additional amount. You don't have to say whatever it is, because that could depend heavily on the project. It might be a small project. It might be a huge project that's worth millions. So you want to make sure that you're pricing accordingly. And that's a tough thing. That's a tough thing to say. But I would just say that if they do come back and say, "Actually, could we use that footage?" Or especially if they want to buy the rights, or they're interested in keeping the rights to that footage, make sure you put a clause in the contract that says at this point they keep the rights to, because for me, I say in the contract whenever we're working with someone, they keep the rights to the final product. Whatever we produce, that final video, that project that we went out to make for them, that's theirs. We keep the raw footage. A lot of times that works out too because we're the ones who shot it, we're the ones who are storing it, we're the ones paying to store it. So that should belong to us. That should belong to the production company. Same thing with photographers. A lot of times people are not looking to try to keep terabytes worth of footage. But on the off side that they do want to go and buy it, yeah, you make sure to put in there too. If they do want to buy it, it will have an additional cost. And that price can vary based on the size of the project is usually what I put. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. And that's an important thing. And so, yeah, you're going to have to price it per thing. Because if you leave it loose and fast, like, you could buy it later for a certain price, and then you screw yourself over as you're moving on to a bigger production that this person is with. But that brings up another point that I thought of, like, okay, so like let's say you had loaded up that stock footage to one of those places, and you're getting a royalty from people purchasing, and it's like how do you even. That would take so much research on the part of one person or another to hold the other person accountable as to whether or not they're actually making money off of that.
It's a lot. That's why I don't even want to enter into that arena. I just think it's better that if you can just go and you have your client work, and that just stays your client work, and then if you want to do anything for stock footage that you can upload to have as an additional means of revenue, it may not even be much, but it could be revenue, and that's something that you can always build. I would just go and film your own stuff. I just think that just saves you a headache of a what if scenario if someone wanted to come up, or a potential client or a past client goes up to you and says they would like that, and you've already uploaded it. I'd have to. That would be a question talking with not only I bet some lawyers, or also the places you've uploaded the stock footage sites to, because there are places. I think one of them is called Shutterstock. Mm-hmm. I think, where they make it super simple they've streamlined uploading stock footage, because they connect to multiple other sites. So all you do is you just upload your footage to them. Now you have to follow the parameters of like how many gigs, what's the size of it. Is it raw, or did you color grade it? Things like that. There's still work when you have to do to upload it, but then after you upload it to them, they take the bulk of the work by uploading to all these other sites, and they keep a tiny portion of your revenue, but they went and did the work to upload. Instead of doing that process for like 8 different sites or 10 different sites or 20 different sites, they do it for you, and all you have to do is upload the footage. So going back to it, if you did upload your footage and they went and upload to all these different sites, that's great on your end. But then if you have a client that comes to you and says, or past client or whatever, hey, we're actually moving on. It's great. Whatever they say, it was great working with you. We want to go this direction. It's just business is business, and they would like to buy the rights to you from you. Then it's like, oh, great. Okay, well, I got to go and I need to talk to Shutterstock, I guess, and either take down all those different clips and maybe have them collect it, so that way it's not on the sites anymore. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. It just sounds like a headache to me. Mm-hmm. So I'd rather just not let that possibility come to fruition.
Yeah. Yeah, I was meaning to talk to you about this because with the pacemaker guy we got for an episode we're making coming up, I managed to lock on this downtown dance studio it's called Satori Dance. It's where they've been going to practice and whatnot. So they're doing some practice runs, and so this episode, it's actually going to be more like a series, kind of like a Dancing with the Stars thing. So I was like, if you want to come to that and film your own sort of dancing episode, you can. Because I thought about that too, and because Danny, the same guy, later in April, he's going on stage in the Spokane Convention Center for some Empire Classic bodybuilding competition. That's basically the pinnacle of the season. Is he started off from recovering from his stroke in his second pacemaker installation and going through the gym. We've already filmed 6 episodes now. And this is the bigger episode that we're really investing in. So him and his wife have been going and dancing prior. We're going to go dance tomorrow. We're going to go tomorrow to lessons. And after about a month's worth of lessons, and we're going to start filming. So that's something to keep in mind. And I've been looking at a lot of these dance videos too, as to how people are generally filming them. And it seems like they do kind of like martial art motion cuts. So they cut in the action. So, yeah. Do you have any ideas on that?
When you're going and filming action, yeah, it depends. This is the tough thing is, like, when you are an editor or you're editing your own footage or you're filming your own footage, the best thing you can do is try to I always, again, going back to YouTube, going back to filmmaking, if there's a certain look, a certain style that you're trying to match, or or especially if you don't even know. And there's definitely projects where it's like, I have an idea, but I don't know exactly what I want. And it's okay to embrace that. It's okay to say, like, I don't know what I want just yet. A lot of times you find that out as you're doing it. If you've already filmed it and you're trying to think about when do you cut, yeah, you can, especially if you have a different action to cut to, that's good if you have a second angle. If you don't have a second angle and it's just you, the best thing you could do is exactly that. I would say watch some music videos, especially if it's regarding dancing. Like, what do they do? And obviously they get really artistic music videos, so you can do a lot. But if you're just looking for a straightforward, fun dance video, there's a lot that you can do with that. Just in terms of cutting on action, that's a good way to maintain attention, I would say, because you're moving from one action to another action. It depends on the story you're telling too. So, and yeah, there's I guess a good way to give advice, because there's so many different directions I could go with this. I would say do what I do and look at what other videos, dance videos, and see which ones you like and which ones you don't like, and then narrow down the style that you do like and just try to implement that. And then once you have the footage, just play around with it. Play.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing. So I've been really excited too with these hunting episodes I've been creating. Those have been something else. I really enjoy that. And there's something about that where, yeah, I've been hunting for years and I've killed plenty of animals, but it's a certain level of trying to be a cinematographer and at the same time stalk the hunter who is stalking the game and trying to get all those quality shots. And I realized on this last pheasant hunting episode that I went out and I filmed, yeah, you're going to need a lot of stock footage. If you want to make a really sexy episode of pheasants flying, you're probably going to have to go out many days to try to catch pheasants flushing up at the right time and catch them on camera, or else you have to stage it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of filming, especially with those, and especially when you go and look at like shows. Naturally, they're not just filming with one camera. They got multiple people doing stuff. They got a camera on the hunters. They got a camera that's trying to look out for the wildlife. They got a camera that's just, I mean, who knows how many? It's they've got budgets. I know when it's by yourself, it's all you, man. It's all you. Got to make it work with what you got. And sometimes you're not gonna sometimes you're stuck between what do you want to shoot, and you have a split second to maybe not even that to decide what you're gonna stick with. Whether that be you're focusing on the hunter kill, make the kill shot and see his reaction, or you're trying to focus on the target that he's hitting. And that might be it. Like, hey, this might be the last shot of the day, and you have to decide which one is more important, and you have to kind of make that decision in your head. So it's it is tough, and especially, and I can say this too, like stock footage has definitely helped when you you get done with the shoot, especially when like, hey, you're business owner, everything's good on the surface. Hey, you guys looked so good, and then you get in your car and driving home, you're like, oh god, I missed that shot. I didn't get that. Yeah. I didn't get that. What am I gonna do? And so then you just start scouring stock footage sites, and you hope they're like, oh, please tell me they have that, especially if the client was like, did you get that? It's another thing you have to kind of be ready, like, oh yeah, I got it, or or I think I got it. It depends. It depends on who you work with. Most people are, especially if it's like it's in the moment. Unless it's a wedding, I think you're usually pretty good. Like if people are usually pretty understanding, like, hey, I got this kind of shot, or I missed it. Actually, I think it's okay to be honest. You don't want to say that at a wedding. Okay. You do not want to effing say that at a wedding. Absolutely not. No way. No way. That's another reason why I am done doing weddings. I did 2 weddings, and they were fine, but God, was it so much work. And in my experience, it's people that are trying to hire wedding videographers. The most amount of people out there, they're doing it at the after they have allocated all the funds to everything else, including the photographer, and then they'll think about video last. Mm-hmm. And that's like, hey, would you be willing to work for like 16 hours for like $300?
Oh,
it's like,
gross.
It's like, that may or may not include travel. Like, no. And then try to tap on like an additional 20 to 30 hours of editing. Like, no, thank you. No, thank you.
No.
So for anyone like does the math, try breaking that down for how many hours, and then you can know how much you're making per hour. That's why it's like I'll only do it if it's with family or friends. I would be willing to offer that, even at a very discounted price, to help people out. But for me, it's also just high stress. It's funny. It's a different kind of stress. Both videography in general is stressful. You have to have the right personality, the right mindset to get into it. You really have to love it. I will say that you really have to love what you're making, even if you're just starting out, and even if it's just a casual thing that you're doing, you enjoy doing it. And for me, it's not so much that I enjoy doing it, but I enjoy the reactions I get out of it. I thrive on the conversations that happen with it. There was a great question, side note here for a second, but there was a great question that I heard, and I think it was an artist asking other artists, would you do it? Would you continue to do it for yourself, but no one in the world could see or know of it? So let me put it this way. If you had to make your art, video or whatever, but no one in the world could know about it or see it, would you still do it? I don't know if I could. Yeah. That's the thing, is I love what I do, but I thrive on showing family, thrive on showing clients, thrive on creating conversation. I think that's what art is supposed to do. And if it was just do it for how much work goes in the video, I'd rather do something else. If I couldn't show anybody any of that, I don't think I could do it just for me. I don't think I could. It would have to serve a greater purpose of like, actually it's feeding into this, which is another, like what I'm doing personally for myself. I only view it for myself, but it's only to help me grow my skills to do this other videography I'm doing for other people. If it was like, all work, all pieces of art that you're doing, you could only do for yourself, would you still do it because you love it that much? I would go, no. Mm-hmm. I thrive on the basis of being able to show that work with others.
It's like censorship of your own art. What's the purpose of art if you can't take the expression? And I love that. You alluded to that. You mentioned the Alfred Hitchcock quote of something like, life is...
Oh, yeah. Film is life without all the dull moments.
Yep. Yeah. and that's so true. And then to see on people's faces, you take this mundane and then you make it sexy. And you make them look sexy. And then it's like, wow. Yeah, no, it's a really... The flattery is powerful, and vanity is a hell of a commodity drug.
It's one hell of a marketing ploy, right? Just make people look good, and it's no matter what extent it is, it could be a home video, it could be a YouTube video, it could be a wedding video, it could be a business, corporate, commercial. What kind of conversations can you make out of that? Both positive and negative. You have to be willing to look and see what kind of conversations it's making, and that's something that I will always love. That is like the big thing about it is. And for anyone out there that's just questioning if whoever's listening to this, if you're questioning whether you want to try it or not, or if hey, you enjoy doing pieces of art. It doesn't have to be video, it could be photography, it could be paintings, could be whatever, and you really enjoy showing that to others, it's whether you should do it. I think that breathes life, breathes meaning into your life. And I think we all need that, especially with what we do. I'm very fortunate that I get to do what I love for a living. I know that for any artist, they're usually a starving artist, or not, and maybe not starving in the sense of literally starving, but it could be like financially starving for a bit. They're gonna be working a day job, and sometimes even if it's just a hobby. I will say this too: don't feel like you have to turn your hobby into a career. You can totally, if that breathes life into it and you feel like it's okay to just do that as a hobby because it gives meaning to you, then for sure, you don't have to try to go and make that into a career. If you want to turn it into a career, though, by all means, go for it. I just give you the warning that I give all artists, which is don't expect you to be doing it full-time for a while, depending on what you're doing. You really need to work on it. It doesn't mean it can't happen. You totally can. We're entering a digital age where you can do a lot with not even just taking photos, but if you're just doing digital art, you can totally sell that digital art. I don't know about the NFT movement that's happening right now, but even just your art in general, you could totally sell that. You could totally do that, and if you can grow a fan base of people that really like what you're doing, they'll buy it. Mm-hmm. They'll buy it, but it's kind of the college mentality of because I had that too. Got out of college and I thought, hey, in a couple years' time, my plan is to be working in the industry, or just go into it and work in the industry, become a feature film director in a couple years. Ha 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 ha! No. You're gonna have to work towards it and be okay with working a day job, working a couple jobs while you're still pursuing your passion. Mm-hmm. So going back to that, your passion bringing meaning to your life. There's gonna be jobs that suck the life out of you, but that passion for the art that you do or your hobbies that you do breathes life back into you. And so keep doing it, keep trying, and you will succeed. It's definitely possible, but you have to have patience. That's the thing. That's a lot of people, not just business owners but artists as well, we have to have a massive exercise of patience. And at the same time, be grateful if you're able to go and do this for a living. You don't have to be the next Spielberg to be happy in life. If that's your ambition, fantastic. I would love to do that, but I wouldn't try to compare myself to Spielberg and say I want to be the next Spielberg. I just want to be a filmmaker. Yeah. I just want to be able to aim for what do they say, oh God, what's it? It's leave me now. But under promise, over deliver it for my own self. Mm-hmm. So hey, I want to be a filmmaker, but if I could make some films that can make some Oscars, win some Oscars, hey, hell yeah. But find out narrow down what is going to make you happy in life. What would make you happy? And if you're not sure, then explore. This is especially, it's what else are you going to do? Mm-hmm. There's opportunities out there for you to try things. Go ahead and try them. See what works for you. So, that got really philosophical for a bit.
Well, no, it's good. And you brought up an interesting point, because I was looking through media contracts. So, how does a major production company contract out all the budget? And I'm going through it, and it's literally an accounting statement. And it goes into all the different forms of what it goes. And so I think, okay, how do you just say, screw the system, and just create the lowest budget horror film possible.
Well, horror, funny enough, horror is actually really contained almost by nature in a lot of ways, because that's what helps it in just emulating fear.
Mm-hmm.
But so in a lot of ways, horror could be one of the easiest. Well, I say easiest, but one of the best ways to keep your budget low when you're making a narrative film. Short film, independent film, doesn't matter. It's horror films typically don't require the biggest budget for that reason. They can usually stick to one or a few locations, especially if it's one location. Obviously, set decoration is a part of it, but there's a lot of lucrative ways, man, that sometimes, and I do feel strongly about this too, even though we don't like it. Some of the biggest constraints of being boxed into, being stuck in a box, even if it's a tiny box and that's your budget, but you have to creatively work with that box, within that box, sometimes allows you to come up with the best results because you are forced to be creative to try to solve problems. So it's, and, something that is always going to be tough is, and the reason why I'm using my business to eventually fund my projects is I want to have a professional crew. And, if you want the best results, you want a professional crew. There's only so far you can go to say, ask your friends, hey, you want to come make this film with me? Because they always have the opportunity of waking up one day, whether they got stuff going on or they just don't feel like it, they could just call out. And as a kid, that always broke, that was made me upset. But again, you get it though. As age, you start to realize, well, yeah, I wouldn't feel like being there for like hours if I'm not getting paid. I'm only getting lunch. So you want to make sure there's some kind of monetary value to them. And not just monetary value, but also they're getting paid appropriately. You're going to get the best work when you're paying people appropriately. Ideally, more than what is appropriate, if you can, because then they'll give it their all, especially if you know that they're good at the work. They'll know that you take care of them, and they'll want to work with you again. That's why you develop these teams, these relationships. And sometimes, if you develop relationships good enough, you might go, hey, look, this is a passion project of mine. I've only got, I don't know, $4,000, and I'm trying to make this work. Would you be willing to jump on this? It's gonna be a lowered rate, but would that work for you? And sometimes, if you're good friends with them, if you got a good team, and they know that it's worth it, and they'd love to see their name a part of your work, they might go yes, but be upfront about it. Do not go too deep into that portion. Just trying to keep the budget low. There's a lot of ins and outs. Just talk about pricing in general for video production. I only really started to figure out how to appropriately do that last year, because for a long time when you're starting, it's just like, hey, I'll just take everything and anything. I just want to get some work on and build a portfolio, and I do, and my portfolio is definitely a hell of a lot better. It's only getting better, but for a while I was only charging for the labor. For part of the labor, I should say. I wasn't even charging for the entire process of that labor, and then the business wasn't even making money. So, that's the thing I learned later on is like, oh, okay, so break it up into categories. I need to charge for this. I need to charge for this. I need to charge for this. And I need to charge for this. From the the pre-production, so the planning part of the process, to the actual production, going and filming it, post-production, editing it, and then obviously sending it off. But on top of all that, yeah, the business has to make money. I was just charging for myself, so I was making some money, but when you're running a business, you forget that, oh, that's right, that's why things are uptick, because you're buying products, and if you're just buying products and selling for the exact same price or less, you're not making any money. So that's where I realized, oh no, so I went through and I updated our pricing, and as I was looking, I'm like, oh crap, yeah, I've been underselling or underpricing for way too long. So that's just part of it. Again, it's okay when I didn't go to business school, and for a lot of people that are just starting, that we all as entrepreneurs are just learning the ropes, and as you do, and experience is what's going to help you just to continue to grow, figure out your pricing, figure out where you want to be working in. Anyway, not to get off tangent again, because I have a tendency to do that. It's You do what you can to be creative in trying to solve budgetary problems. If something's not working, okay, you ask yourself, do we need that thing? Do we need that camera? Do we need that movement? Do we need that person on set, or can I do it myself? Sometimes it means that you are taking on more roles. A lot of times it means there's going to be more work, but if you make it work and you get to look at the final product and see what you guys created, it's always the most satisfying. That's why, like, even Martin Scorsese in a masterclass was talking about how, like, every production, every film just manages to kill him. It's so tough. It's years of your life dedicating to this, and no matter how much it just literally beats you into the ground and you are almost begging for death, by the time that you watch the final project, the final film in its form, and you get to see the response from it, you can't help but go, yeah, I think I'll do that again.
Yeah, no, you nailed it, and I do it too. Like, just working on this one episode, I was before you came. You're so stuck in that 1 second, that 2 seconds of editing, that you don't see the bigger picture, and you don't see how, by the time it all comes together to you, it's like, oh, this is crap, it's garbage, and then, or maybe it's. And it's weird is the ones that I think that are good usually aren't the ones that are good.
Right, we're our own worst critics, and I had that a couple times where early on, fresh out of college, I was editing this video for the chemistry department, and it took me so long because I just hated it. I hated the footage. I just did not like it at all. I was like, it's okay. I don't like the lighting, don't like the angles, don't like anything about it. I just trying to do this, and school was a mistake. I was almost just debating, like, do you know what? Not even going to just turn this in. But eventually I finished it. It was like, I turned it over, like, hey, whatever. It's done. Got a response from the person I was talking to, said he showed the department. It made one of the professors cry.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, what? Are you kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? That thing was a piece of crap. Like, how could you possibly? But that was a good lesson on knowing, you know what? One man's trash is another man's treasure. Is in one way. It's because you never know how it's going to affect people. And that's another lesson of all things are subjective. You might love this movie. I might hate it. I might love this TV show. You might hate it, and that's okay. It's okay to embrace that. I think that's all part of art. It's all part of subjectivity. And everyone's going to perceive it a different way. It's another reason why I love what I do. Is one person might look at it this way, another person could look at it a totally opposite way. And it might be as simple as, I just don't like it, or I do like it, or like I like it, but I liked this aspect of it, or that's funny you say that. I actually liked this aspect of it. I thought I came to this conclusion, especially if it's something kind of philosophical or some kind of narrative to that regard. But so I don't ever, when I talk to people and especially if they're dissing on a show that is like, how could you possibly say you don't like Lord of the Rings? Like, they just didn't like it. It's as simple as that. And it's cool to say, like, hey, I'm glad that you loved it. I unfortunately did not like it. And people respect that. And, so everybody's going to view your pieces of work in different ways. Mm-hmm. Overall, you just tried, as I do, I just try to gauge, okay, of the percentage of people that watched it, how many just fall into the I like it category. Mm-hmm. And if more people fall into the I like it category, that's like, hey, cool, that's a win.
Yeah, no, that's good. Engagement and how much and that's what I think about too. A good movie is like a meme that is trendy, and people can look at it and they see different things out of it. And it's really cool, and I think so I think it's like there's got to be certain elements that you're piecing together that create this story, and if that resonates with the viewers or the audience, then that's gonna be the most trendy one.
Do you have any shows that you've recently been watching, or TV or movies?
On Netflix, it's called Big Mouth. It's an animation.
Oh, I've not heard about that one. I will say this: an animation that it was my favorite thing. It was the favorite thing I watched all of. I think it was 2021. Yeah, 2021. It was my favorite thing that I watched that entire year. Mm-hmm. Arcane. I couldn't, like, I've always been a lover of animation. I've just always felt like it's never reached its peak of what it could do with storytelling. Arcane broke that. It finally reached that peak for me. Arcane is like the truest representation of what animation can do with a story. Because I watch that and I go, live action can't do that. That it would not be able to. It would be so difficult. Now, to be fair, could you do stuff in animation and adapt in live action? Yes, you can, but you're working within the restraints of reality.
Mm-hmm.
Animation, you can do whatever. You can make something happen or flash within like half a second, and it would only work in animation. Because you do that in live action, people are just gonna think it's weird. Like, why was that there? Why was that there? Why'd they do that? Animation, it's easier for us to just embrace it. And you can do so much. You can tell so many different stories in so many different universes, talk about so many different issues, and metaphorically make it easier for people to be put into someone else's shoes or understand that. And like I said, Arcane was beautiful. It is one of the best first seasons I have probably ever seen. If anyone's not,
what platform is it on?
It's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's a Netflix original. It's actually based on a video game adaptation. It's from League of Legends. And for anyone who does like, oh, League of Legends, like, guess what? I don't play it either, but I can tell you don't need to watch or know anything about it. The show is phenomenal. Absolutely, like 20 out of 10. It's incredible. The storytelling, the arcs, the characters, everything is important. There's not one scene, not one character, not one action, not one writing point, not one line that isn't just perfect. It has purpose. Everything in there has purpose, and I could not be more excited for season 2, which they're in production on and working on. Live action, this year, well, no, last year technically, I watched House of the Dragons, the new season of Game of Thrones, and you know what, that cleaned my palate from the last couple seasons of the first show of Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Game of Thrones for a long time was my favorite. That was the best show I've ever seen. Like,
I love Game of Thrones.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it was a companion for me.
Absolutely, I know it was amazing.
And I kind of gave up after a few seasons in, but. Yeah, but I mean, I loved it.
Yeah, it was for me. I got up till season 6, and then from 7 and 8, I think it goes to 8 seasons. The last 2 seasons were, especially the last season. I couldn't believe it. Like, how did it get to this point? Anyway, not to jump too much into that. I know that there's people that really enjoyed it. Again, subjectivity. I'm glad you liked it. I hated it. I absolutely hated the ending. I hated especially the last season. I could not believe it got to that point. But House of the Dragons was a breath of fresh air for me. It really cleaned my palate of the last 2 seasons. But that was good. If we want to stick on Netflix, Stranger Things. Oh, holy crap. Stranger Things is a ride. Every single season is just what do they call it? It's not just a sensation, it's an event. Mm-hmm. It really is. Like, every season, it just feels like it's culminating to an incredible climax, and it's on its own. You could watch each season on its own, and it just feels like its own journey, and it's ramping up to, I think, it's going to be an incredible finale. They've done an incredible job with that. I am super excited for the team. I know the company, the showrunners that made that show are now making their own production company, and they're doing more stuff with Netflix, and could not be happier. I'm thrilled. But yeah, Stranger Things and Game of Thrones, Arcane. One of the things I'm gonna look forward to. Another goal this year is try to have more work-life balance, so I can actually watch more shows and write more shows. Mm-hmm. But those are definitely some favorites of mine for sure.
So yeah, I was brainstorming as you were going through that, but. Yeah, man, I totally agree. I think that, first off, animation really is a good way to take ideas and abstract them into a cartoon form and then add whatever you want. And you see people get away with it all the time. Yeah. And I also see these reoccurring elements. Like, there are things where you can just create your own world right off the bat, and everyone's cool with it. And that is the world of some sort of mythological stuff. And Tolkien really capitalized on that. I mean, obviously, he led the way. A lot of people don't know this, but Tolkien was the reason anybody even knows the word Beowulf. The story. Yeah,
that's a neat thing.
Yeah, I learned because when I was going to school, I took this class. It gave me two options at Gonzaga University. They're like, hey, you could either take 1960s America about civil rights and all of the 60s and all that stuff, or you can learn about Tolkien. And I'll do the Tolkien class, whatever. And no, the Tolkien was I could talk forever on that guy, but yeah, he was something else. But there's that element. You have the enchantment element, this world of enchantment where dragons and princesses and whatnot, and Disney's been capitalizing on that since forever. And then you also have the abstract world of, what's the other element that people can escape into? Oh, space, sci-fi. But you said those expensive ones. Yeah.
Yeah, well, when you're dealing with animation, it's all expensive.
Yeah.
It's all expensive. It's at the same time, it's just incredible too how technology's gotten to a point where you by yourself can go and make like a totally animated short if you just dedicate the time to it. You can learn everything and do it all on your own, and kudos to whoever can do that, because animation is, like I said, I would love to get into it. I just don't know if I want to animate it. I would rather write the story and hire the animators and go, here you go, here's a ton of money, go and make my movie, while me also directing you and helping along the way, because there's so much it's its own field, but man, does it just, the opportunities you can do with it. And I love too that I've always wanted like more mature stories being told in animation, and that's why I gravitated when I was young. Still do to this day, I still love Japanese animation. Oh my god, I still love anime. I'm so thrilled that it's like mainstream. It used to be like this niche, like, ooh, you're into anime, and now it's like, oh, you're into anime too? Hell yeah, brother. That's like, it's everywhere. It's totally mainstream, and there's something out there for everyone. I'll say that about anime. Not all of it is just like everything else. There's a lot of it that's like, oh, just stay away from that genre. But there's some where you get some incredible stories. I like my favorite, if you want to talk about like favorite anime, or if it just shows, one of them is Fullmetal Alchemist. That's my all-time, one of my favorite shows of all time. I connect with that show so much. The original, Brotherhood, is also like just as good, but the original is so near and dear to my heart. There's so many things, so many metaphors, so many lessons, so many things that were far ahead of its time, and it's amazing. I would love it if I could adapt that into a show, animated or live action. They've already done it in their own Japanese live action versions. There's a lot to be desired, so I'd love to make like an actual true adaptation. It's funny how you just how the Japanese think, like, let's just put this clearly fake blonde wig on a Japanese actor and just say that he's European. It's like it's funny how, to try to contrast that with, how we try to do with John Wayne. Like, let's just, like, even go back to the old movies, like, it's try to make him look like he's Chinese. I think it was I forgot what was the movie, but they tried to make him look Asian instead of just get an Asian actor.
Well, yeah, they used to do that back in the day. They would only host white actors,
right?
And which was really racist.
Oh yeah, it's totally different now. But even still, it's like you still have those weird ones. Like there was one movie, Pan, that came out with it was Peter Pan. It had Hugh Jackman in it. The trailer looked amazing. I never got to see it, but I heard it wasn't that good. But they had Rooney Mara, I believe, play this Native American woman, an Indian, and she was like, "You're not that." So there was so much backlash over that. But it's like I said, I just think it's funny. I just think it's funny how like we have that perspective on things But the Japanese are like, nope. Where it's like, we're putting all these wigs on you, and we're just it's only gonna be Japanese, and we're not gonna try to hire, we're not gonna try to hire like a European actor or American actor or an English speaking actor who actually doesn't look Japanese, because Full Metal Alchemist is set in like Germany. It's like Europe. It's funny. It's funny, but man, I would. God, there's so many lists. I've got my own list of anime that I would. Oh my God, if I could adapt that, holy crap, that'd be another dream.
Yeah, anime. That's it. I met somebody. He would argue that Walt Disney was the first anime, and everything else is kind of like an adaptation of his big eyes, big mouth, smile thing. But it's a cool formula.
It's definitely got its own style, and like I said, for anyone that's like, anime, it's like, yeah, I know. There's definitely the Japanese they're eccentric for a reason. They as a people are very eccentric, so they got different views on things. But sometimes but even with those views, if you're willing to like move past a lot of the tropes that do happen in it, you'll find some shows. Like I said, I think one of the best ways to kind of get started is definitely like Full Metal Alchemist is one of those where you could be totally new and you could watch it, and there's so much you could take from it. It's a very mature story. It's there's a lot of themes to it, especially if you're an adult, not even just like a teenager, but if you're an adult and you get to watch it, there's things like, wow, this is deep. Wow, they touched on that. Wow, they're doing this. Okay, from like I said, I could talk all day on just why that show is so amazing, why that story is so amazing, why I connect with it so much. But there's something out there for everyone, and if you're willing to get over the tropes and kind of watch it, especially if you're just playing around with it or trying to see, it's everywhere now. So we're definitely seeing more animated shows that are coming up, and they're trying to hop on that bandwagon. And to me, I view it more as competition. It just means that people need to be better about trying to tell better stories and be in more unique stories. And so I'm thrilled to see that animation is starting to take more and more of a hold on. It's starting to show up more and more in more mature stories and just deeper stories. It doesn't have to be like adult stories. It just something that is not by the numbers, kid friendly. Like we can do more than just try to be, absolutely by the numbers family friendly. We can try to tell stories. I kind of think about like Mr. Rogers, where Mr. Rogers he didn't just everything's fun and good all the time. He would have episodes like, hey, today we're going to talk about death. Today we're going to talk about like how you deal with that. Today we're going to talk about these things. We're going to talk about these things. There's a great documentary on Mr. Rogers. I haven't seen the movie with Tom Hanks that plays Mr. Rogers, but the documentary called Won't You Be My Neighbor, I think it was nominated for an Oscar. I don't think it won, but hopefully it did. I don't know. I have to see it still, but there was raving reviews about how good that was. He was such a figure. And so anyway, so it kind of a weird comparison, but I want more nuance in stories, and I think animation can absolutely bring that to a whole new level.
Yeah, no, and it brings up a whole point I heard once in this. I believe the term is diegetic space.
Yeah, diegetic. There's non-diegetic and diegetic. Diegetic is like, for instance, that's usually used with us in regarding sound. So when you are if you hear something within the world, so let's say it's music, it's sound that's within the world.
Okay.
Yeah, diegetic sound or something. Diegetic is essentially what's within the world. Non-diegetic would be outside the world, and I guess an example of that would be like you're hearing voiceover.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, and that's a whole different, and that's really cool stuff, because I thought about that, like diegetic space, and I remember watching this, and I may be wrong on this, but like if a character goes like back in time in their mind, or if you go into an animated state, that's instantly going into a diegetic space. Is that the other type that you said?
Oh, non-diegetic?
Non-diegetic. The whatever one that exists outside of.
Right. Yeah. It's at least I believe so. Again, it's been a bit since school, but yeah, I learned those terms when I was when I was in school, and I will enjoy to use those terms as I get to work in projects that require me to know those terms.
Well, yeah, it makes it. Well, I mean, if you do it and you know the terms and you apply these terms, then by all means you're an expert.
It makes you sound smarter.
It makes you sound smarter, saying stuff like panning and zooming and
tilting and Dutch angles.
Dutch angles. Look at that. I'm gonna use that one now. I need a Dutch angle on you.
Right? Like, what's a Dutch angle? Oh, I'll show you. What's that? We need a snap zoom over here. Let's get this rim light over here, this edge light, and like the fill light. And like, oh, what is all this? Don't worry about it. Just
well, on the concepts of story. So what? I mean, you are a good storyteller. So what? And that's the thing I've noticed. Like Alfred Hitchcock is a freaking phenomenal storyteller.
Right? Is one of the classics. Well, his work will be timeless.
Yeah, and I listened to some of his interviews, and I think they're just pretty profound. Like when he speaks, he says real deep things. And when he says things like actors should be treated like cattle, and I think about that really deeply from many different angles. And I'm like, wow, that was a very profound word of wisdom, and I'm actually gonna take that into account in the future.
Right,
in the event.
We in school we were told like actors are like, magical unicorns. It's like you have to take care of them really, really well, because they they can do some incredible stuff, and they're going into places that you don't want to, because they have to be in that place to do that role, sometimes all day. So it's another reason why you need to, if you find good actors, oh my goodness, take care of them. You need to take care of them. And actors really are like, sometimes they are kind of like children, where you have to tell them all the time, like, hey, yep, you're doing good. Yep, you got positive reinforcement, guide them. And there's some too that it's like, no, I'm good. Just let me do my thing. It's when you're working with different people, you have to learn how to work with that. One thing that, I never got to work a lot with actors, but when I did, I made this horrible short film, because it was I was just a student, so it was a very student short film. But one thing that you want to try to avoid when you're working with actors is giving them like line readings. So gotcha. So an example, if I was working with somebody and they said something, and I go to them, okay, cool, that was great, but this time I want you to say it like this, and then I go forward saying the line, saying exactly how I want to them. Oh Lord, that's a good way to tick them off, because then they're like, okay, well, how about you just do it then? If you like that so much, how about you just say it like that, and you stand here for me? Because otherwise, why don't you give me some true direction and tell me exactly, like, in a different way, like, how would you want that done? And the line readings, that more direct, result-oriented direction, that's great for non-actors. And I do a lot of that right now with what I do, because we don't typically, most times we don't have the budget to go and make that kind of commercial space where you hire an actor, or you're doing something that gives them. Otherwise, sometimes, and this can be really hard for people to grasp, is you have to give them, like, a lot of times if you can give them action verbs, give them something to, go. So like, say that line like you want to hit them, or say that line like you're proposing to her. Say that thing, and it puts them in a space of like, oh, interesting, and it's totally outside the box. It's totally difficult, because you're trying to think about, how can I try to figure out a way to put their heads in this space when they're saying this line, and you want to give them something that's totally actionable if they can, and it is tough. It is tough. Some people, there's a lot of directors actually afraid of working with actors because of that, because they're not used to directing people. They're used to directing actors per se, because it feels like it's in their own world. So depending on what you do, you would want to try to you want to practice with that. You want to work with that. And it's another reason why I'd love to before being given a project, if I had a big studio come to me and say, Nick, we want this is Warner Brothers here, we want to have you come and direct one of our Harry Potter movies, I would flat out say no. Even though I would love the opportunity. Hell, if Disney came to me and said, hey, we'd love you to, first off, they don't do that. Unless you're like, typically you're going to them and pitching for years until you get something that's going. But let's just say, for an example, in the perfect world, they come to me and go, hey, we would love you to go and make this movie or this TV show. I would go no, because in the industry, a lot of times a phrase that is thrown around is you are known for what you last did. You can be one of the greatest directors, upcoming directors, but you make one horrible film, that's what you're going to get known for until you make another movie that's better.
That
sucks.
sucks.
Even if you get known, even if you have like 5 films that are just incredible, or you have some lukewarm, but you had one that was bad, it was horrible, it does hurt your chances a lot, because that's what you get known for, because that's what people are going to remember. And when you're in the director's seat, you get the blame for it. That's one of the things that comes with being a director, is you're steering the ship. There's very few, there's less people that go and blame the studio and blame the producers than the director and the actors. I think the actors a lot of times get way more hate than they deserve. Personally, I get irritated when people are like, "Oh, that actor shouldn't have been doing that," or "That was horrible performance" and stuff. It's like, yeah, I know, but guess what? Who gave them that role? Who gave them the direction? Who decided to cut and decide, yep, it's good to move on? Who decided to use that take in the editing process? The director and the producers and the editor. So it's like, guys, it's be easy on the actors. Yes, there's definitely bad actors out there. There's definitely not as talented. That's why, again, if you had to list off actors, maybe you're only going to list off maybe 20 in your head out of the thousands and thousands and thousands in the world. Yeah. It's the same thing with directors. Maybe you'll list off 5 in your head out of the thousands and thousands and thousands that are going to directing TV and movies to this day. It's hard to be, and when you get in that echelon, you're on the list of like Hollywood directors. It's amazing. But yeah, it's fun. I mean, we'll go back to, again, I took a last tangent again, but going back to Hitchcock, yeah, he's got so many, he's got a lot of great analogies and stuff. And what he means by cattle, for those of you like, let's say this, don't take it on the surface. He's really talking about how you need to take care of them. You need to take care of them. You need to guide them. You need to like be there hold their hand on a lot of cases. And that's a lot of what it really is. he's not being like, not in the way that some of you might be perceiving that, again, like artists. So he's going to be talking of metaphors, but one of his one of his most used videos, or most reused, is when he's describing the bomb under the table. Like how do you instill fear? And he says he says what is scary is not the bomb. It's you knowing the bomb's going to go off and the actors don't know the bomb's going to go off, and it's right next to them. Of course. It's the build up to that. He says like it's like a rubber band. You just keep pulling and pulling and pulling, and you know it's gonna snap, and you're scared for it. But the longer you pull, the bigger the tension grows, and you go and go and go until like they themselves, the audience, are like going to burst and want to scream at the screen, going, "Get the hell out of there!" That's how you do it. It's all about tension. That's how he's so good. He is the, oh crap, what was his official, like the king of thriller. It just. That's what he just, good directors and writers and like the teams, because it's not just one person that really goes and makes this all happen. It's a whole team. It's a whole, like, the legions of people that have to go and make movies to be made. It's amazing sometimes when you look at how lucrative, how many processes, how many steps it takes to make movies. It's a miracle they even get made in the first place. But yeah. With tension, yeah, it's really about that build up, and that's the thing that's truly the thing that if you were to master anything, it's about trying to figure out that tension. What can you do to really bring that up and raise the stakes a bit? Yeah, Hitchcock, so many things that people can study. For his work will always be timeless. I think my favorite of his work, a lot of people go back to the thing that he's always known for, which is oh my God, it's going to be one of those moments where I know the movie until I just lost it. What was Norman Bates?
Psycho.
Psycho. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Film guy, just forgot Psycho. Yeah, Psycho. He gets known for Psycho, but, I think about movies like North by Northwest. Mm-hmm. I still haven't seen The Birds. I know, right? I need to watch that one too. God, there's Vertical is another one I've not seen. There was another one where it was all basically in one room. It was like a play, and it was the camera would move from one aspect. It would follow the characters, but it all stayed in this one room, and it's following these two characters who, at the very beginning of the film, they're literally two murderers. They just murdered somebody and they put them into like this table that's in the room, and one of them was psychotic enough to go, now we're like that we had this party that was scheduled. These party guests are going to be in this room, and we're going to treat it like nothing happened. And it's all about this whole thing unfolding where, like, will they or won't they be discovered? It was very fascinating. It's interesting, the dynamics between them, and yeah, now I don't even remember the movie that comes to mind, but yeah, Hitchcock, man, there's so many of them that he'll be known for, and Psycho, I think, is the one that he'll get known for the most, and that's definitely one of my favorites. And I think at the same time, if you ask me like tomorrow, hey, what's your favorite Hitchcock movie? I might go, oh yeah, it's maybe today it's Psycho. So it fluctuates.
Well, it's good. It's like a Quentin Tarantino. I think
that's a great comparison. Yeah.
Yeah. To me, I think like one of the, I think to me the most flattering thing would be somebody coming up to me and saying, "Oh no, that's your film, or that's a Michael Segolini film. That's a Nick Allard film." By the way, he does his editing, which is really cool signature. Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, no, he would have never produced that. He doesn't produce that, which is kind of cool on reputation too. So if you do see something that would be a junk garbage film, you'd think, what? How did this get out?
Yeah, it's Tarantino he's definitely he's a character. He totally is. His films, he's talked about now he only wants to make 10 films, then he's done. I don't know if he's gonna stick with that. Hey, you do you, man. We'd love to see more work from you. If he's trying to figure out, I think, what it's gonna be his quote unquote last film, but because he wants to go and write books, he wants to go and do actual live theater. He wants to direct that. He kind of wants to step away from the filmmaking. I don't know how long he could step away from it though. I don't know. Maybe he will be convicted. Oh, he'll stay in his conviction and say like, nope, that was my last film, and that's what I want to be known for. Like, okay, that's too bad, because I feel like you have a lot more to offer, but you do you. Because yeah, his films are so varied and so different, but his style is, you can't help but go, is that Tarantino style? Like, that is tough. One thing when people ask like, what's your style? Like, I don't know. Style is it's a very, you have to have such a unique style and a portfolio of that same through line. That style has to be the through line through all your work. Mm-hmm. And it's tough. That's like if you got taught to like a Wes Anderson film, like the Grand Budapest Hotel. His style is so his, like no one like comes close to like that. Oh yeah, that's Wes Anderson. You would know right away that's Wes Anderson. Even Christopher Nolan, to an extent, you would know like, oh, that kind of feels like feels and looks like a Christopher Nolan film. Tarantino, another like signature thing when you watch his movies, like this does feel like Tarantino. And Tarantino is amazing too because he does it all. He does the directing, he does the writing, he likes to play cameos in it. He's part of the editing process. Mm-hmm. He's definitely going down as one of the greats. Another one for me, and he's just got an incredible track record, and he's always embraced the digital age, and he was so excited to start working with digital. Not George Lucas, but David Fincher. David Fincher has got an incredible track record. He never likes to talk about Alien 3 being his first film, but everything after that, I don't think he's had one bad film on his record. I think they're all amazing. He's in bed right now with Netflix. Like Netflix is just throwing money at him. Like, you do whatever you want to do, man. Like, just stay on Team Netflix.
Yeah, and that's what's cool about the way you nailed it. Then you also said there's no better time to get into this industry, but there's also no worse time. And just watching these bigger platforms go to their knees, and I watch moves like, Mr. Beast just turning down everything and saying, no, I'm going to stay with YouTube. Because I think he sees the writing on the wall when it goes down to micro content.
Yeah, there's so much opportunity. There's so much if you're really interested in totally trying to get into your work, or in this case, if you're not, but you're trying to run a business. Sorry, said business. You need to get video. You need video in your business if you're going to make that work. No, well, okay, I'll take that back. You don't need it to, but you will thrive and you will progress a lot faster if you have video. You'll stand out a lot more. If you're okay with it being something casual, hey, for sure, don't worry about it. But if you're going to take your business seriously, you need video. You need video. And that's what you need to do. Now, that being said, I myself don't have a lot of video promoting myself. I have a lot of content, mostly exclusively content promoting my clients. And what you'll find with a lot of ad agencies and production companies, we're great about promoting our clients. We're not great about promoting ourselves. It's the same thing with like social media managers and all them. Like when we're in a business that's all about promoting other businesses, it can be challenging to try to fit that time in to promote your own business. So it is tough, but even still, you need to try to do your best to get more content out there. Like for me, one of my plans is I'm definitely going to be trying to get in front of the camera more. I need to. It's good for me. I need to start putting out content so people get to see what I look like, what I sound like, what kind of services we provide. It doesn't have to be like tips and tricks. I know people are like, myself included, I'm not trying to be the tips and tricks guy. Here's what you can do to go film yourself. Here's what you can do this, because everybody's done that, right? You try to come up with things that you can do. But I will say this, even if it's already been done and you're just starting, it's okay to ride that wave. There's a good saying about how good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Okay.
So and that's totally true. Like, guess what? Even the biggest Hollywood filmmakers, they talk about all the time, oh, this shot was inspired by this movie. This shot was inspired by this shot in this movie. This line was inspired by this. And they steal it, but they use it in a way so that the context is changed, but it amplifies the scene because it works for it. And we as the audience, we embrace it. And sometimes we actually think that's really cool that it actually calls out that, like, oh, that's clearly a shot from Psycho, or that's clearly a callback to this movie, and it's all fun stuff. But so taking it back to the business, it's okay to take ideas, or take like inspiration from stuff. I shouldn't say, it's one thing to do that, and it's another thing to go and shot by shot go and just try to copy somebody, unless it's like for humor based.
Yeah, no, you nailed it. And I think about this too, and I watch all my friends with their smaller businesses, and most people, they suck at marketing. I sucked at marketing for the longest time. I mean, I'm not a marketer per trade.
Yeah, not myself included.
Yeah, and but video really is the best form of just getting out there, those short form content and shameless promotions.
Yep, it's just it's and the thing that makes, I will say this is what's tough now about video. Now that we're in the age of scrolling, thanks to reels and everything, our attention spans that were like maybe you had 5 seconds or 10 seconds to get somebody's attention, now in some cases you have like less than a second. It's getting shorter. It's going to continue to get shorter unless like something changes, but I don't know what is going to make that to change. So that means us as video creators, we need to be creative to try to maintain people. You need to hook them, like really hook them. After the first, within the first couple seconds, and then every couple seconds you need to give them a reason to stay around for like the next couple of seconds. And you need to continue to do that, depending on the content. And that's the thing. With micro content, that's one thing. If you're trying to tell a story, you're trying to let the story do the heavy lifting. Yeah. But if you're just trying to just get attention online, a lot of times you're going to be doing stuff, you're going to be editing ways that are unorthodox. And sometimes that's just by nature, that's what you're doing. It's going to feel weird. To me, it does feel weird. It does feel wrong based on how I've been taught. But that's what works. That is the thing that works right now. And so that's why in some ways, hey, it's easy because I just go and do this and I throw this on here and it's fine. It's really obtrusive, and that's how I get their attention. Well, it's also about how do you get their attention, because they might look at that and go, well, okay, that was amateur, that was whatever, I'm moving on. Versus, oh, that actually felt like it had some purpose to it. It fit well with that video. They're able to embrace it. So There's a lot of layers to it. There's a lot of things, so that's why I would say don't throw a video off like, oh, I could just make this for the cheap, or I should hire someone for the cheap, or if there's a reason they're pricing for what they're pricing. Like you're getting quality, and sometimes, it's. I mean, I get that still. We're always going to get that, like, whoa, you're pricing this way. It's like, yeah, well, that's the thing is we're trying to solve a problem, and the problem we're trying to solve is not at it's at this budget, not the one that you're saying that I should be charging. Yeah. Don't undervalue video. It's going to be the thing. It's the thing in the future. Thanks to the pandemic, everybody needs it. Which it was already going that direction anyway. It just accelerated getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my dad I didn't realize it. I didn't realize the power of it until I started doing it. And but you brought up a good point. Yeah, I heard somebody the other day saying, I forget who he was, but he was somebody important. And he said, yeah, when people go into a short, when they're going in on all these social medias, every video, reel, and feed, they're going in with no context. And they're looking for the first reason they can to scroll. And you have to fight that. And then there's ones where I find I've watched the whole thing. It's like, and I still don't want to give them that like. It's like I'm stingy with it. but so the ones that I do give them the like, it's like, all right, you made me watch the whole time. You get the like. I wasn't even intending on watching this.
I'm very generous with my likes. I'm usually I think that. Okay, cool. And sometimes I'll like a video before, especially if it's like, even if it's new, I'll like it as I'm watching it. And if there's some reason I don't like it, then I might unlike it. But I don't think I ever dislike things. I don't think I ever dislike. I just like, okay, if I don't like it, I just leave it be. I don't even try to go into the dislike ratio. I don't try to be a part of that crowd.
Well, any engagement is hooking them up, a like or a dislike. Especially a comment, then the algorithm sees it.
Yeah, the comment is like the greatest honor you'll get from me. If I go, if you go have me like enough that I comment, that's like you did something really good because I'm that, or you're like a friend of mine or something. Because otherwise, I'm not big on commenting. Like, hey, it's because it's so easy just to like, easy to like and move on, and that's typically my thing. I like to feel like I'm supporting people, even if it's a video like, it was okay information, but I'll give them a like anyway because I know what it's like to make that video. The amount of work that it takes sometimes, the hours it takes to make a video, even if it's not the best, it's like, yeah, you know what, you deserve a like. So that's why I'm usually really generous with my likes.
I am not generous with my likes, not because I don't want to be, but because when I'm generous with my likes, it'll ruin up the algorithm for me. It'll just keep showing me same stuff like that. And it's like, no, I need to keep it varied.
Yeah, I can understand that if it's like on a business sense. Like if I had my business account, then yes, I would be very selective on what I'm liking. Personal account, I couldn't give a crap.
well, that's the thing. Like even my personal account, like if I start doing pets and animals and liking, and then it's just flooded, and then it's just a compounding issue with pets and animals, and it goes into any sort of echo chamber. So I mean, before I even give out a like, I have anticipation. It's like, do I want to see more stuff like this? Because if I do, then by clicking the like, that's literally what the algorithm's going to feed me more stuff like this.
Right. Yeah. For anyone who has not seen another Netflix property, go watch The Social Dilemma.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, yeah. You guys want to see the power and the frightening, incredibly frightening power of social media and how it can be tailored and used and what it does. Go watch The Social Dilemma. It's definitely eye-opening. Even if it's not for fear, even if you're afraid of like what you're going to learn, you should everybody should watch that documentary.
Yeah, it's a drug addiction. It highlights our drug addiction to this thing.
And how what it's doing to us as humans, and how bigger, even governments, how they're using social media and like to their advantage and stuff. It's nuts. But and like one of the things that I learned that was really, I think to me that stood out the most is people on the average, including myself when I was on the outside, when I was just when you Google something, that's just the most searched thing. Well, no. When you go and Google something, I could Google, what is, and Google will just auto-generate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go and Google what is, we'll both get totally different answers.
Mm-hmm.
The reason for that is they've created profiles for both of us. So they know, they are able to predict what you are going to personally go and search. And yeah, that's why it's important for everything. Every social, they all have their information. They all have the information. They know us inside and out. It's like it is what it is. It's over. So how do you take advantage of that? How do you control that? Well, that's kind of going with your strategy. Like be careful of what more do you want to see? What more do you want to see, and what more do you want to learn, and what do you not want to see? And then sometimes, maybe it's not so much a dislike. I'll just make sure to put in there like, oh, not interested. And so it's, yeah. Watch The Social Dilemma, guys. You gotta definitely go watch that.
Yeah, and I think about that too. Social Dilemma, it's on Netflix, and I think about just that dirty war now. Mm-hmm. And how YouTube stepped up the game to say, no, we're a legit long-form content place now, and we want to be respected as that.
Right. Well, and coming out with short-form content is, that is the thing. But it's amazing, as you and I have had conversations about how much that can be used to promote your long-form content and how much more amplified that can be, especially when you are starting out. Because your reels, your shorts in this case, are always going to get more views faster. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean it will get it won't, like your long form. You won't. It doesn't mean your long form won't get as many views. Your long form could easily go and surpass that potentially. Mm-hmm. It depends on the algorithm. Depends on so many different factors. But let's say that we take this podcast for instance. If you are listening, you're on a podcast and you're working with that podcaster, and they have clips, and you have some under a minute like conversations or things that you can take out, and you have at the end of a call to action that says go watch the rest of it here, and you have like 5 or to 15 of those sprinkled in from all that one conversation. You have 15 different funnels to try to magnets to try to get people to watch them, and then send it to the long form content, and then you're making money not only on your short form content but also the long form content. And I don't remember what the numbers were, but I still think that you get more money from the long-form content. But YouTube late last year did go and update it so that way there's more options for monetization on shorts.
Yeah, they have, because they're really competing hard. I've been looking at that, and I got a nagging suspicion I'll be competitive for the shorts fund once I get to monetizable states on some of these channels. But
right, it's one of my goals this year too, is get to a point where you can monetize it. And honestly, it's totally doable. It's really not as difficult as because I think on Instagram, I think you have to get like 10,000 followers before you can be.
Well, what I was thinking is if you had brought your cameras, you could have like at least one on you, and then we could look up the questions, and then you could answer the questions, and you can cut, and you got your sound bites.
Right, I know. It's like I missed out on this opportunity. Next time.
Yeah, absolutely. You could be like whatever's trending, like, yeah, you know what's up,
right? Yeah. So you work with that, but it's. Yeah, it's so essentially there's a lot of, so for instance, I mentioned Instagram, how you have to have, I believe, again, I'm going off of secondhand information here, so it may be different, but I heard it was 10,000 followers you have to get before you can even monetize what you can, possible earnings from Instagram. YouTube is 1,000. And YouTube, the difference is, okay, so you need to get 1,000 followers. Okay, but you also need to get, was it like...
It's like some odd 1,000 hours of your long form content being showed, and they don't allow short. The view hours for shorts don't count.
Wasn't there like something pretty large for the amount of viewership? Like you need a certain amount of views overall accompanied with your subscribers.
Yeah, a certain number of viewing hours within the year. So it's a good way to, like, you got to prove as a creator that you can get to that point. And they usually say the average is around 500 videos. So by the time you've done 500 videos, you're a pretty good producer of content in some form or the other. You probably have some sort of marketable channel at that point.
Right. Well, we made on our business YouTube channel, we made a spec ad, which is, in this case, it's a fake ad for a product video we did for Pepsi.
Mm-hmm.
And so that actually went pretty viral for us. It was
that
pretty
was a good. I saw the one with pouring the thing.
Yeah,
That was a
for
good
Pepsi,
one.
it was fun, but it's also because it was Pepsi. So it's and that was, again, a fluke. Did not expect that to go. It was just our first product video, and so we're sitting, I think it's at like 340,000, but when I first saw it, it was like a 250, and it just kept going and going and going. And that's another thing to keep in mind is if you make something that actually does go viral, not saying you want to chase being viral, but if you do have something that does somehow go viral, it doesn't mean that viewership just stops.
No, if anything, it builds your subscriber base.
Exactly. Well, for a long time, I was not even ambitioning or endeavoring to go and start a YouTube channel. I was like, I'm not going to be a content creator. It's just going to be a place, a portfolio for my work. And after we got to that point, after we have so much more views, and we're now like, I think 518 subscribers, something like that, suddenly monetization is way more closer than I thought.
Yeah. Oh, it comes quick.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of these channels that I got with this the vegan, I'm like, dude, you're already a third of the way there,
right?
And it's we're only 3 months in, man.
Mm-hmm. So it's totally possible.
Yeah. Oh, it's very possible if you want to put in the work, because at some point, by the time you get there, I think of it like a marathon. You got to run it.
Yeah.
And depending on how good of a creator, depends on how fast you can run it. And
right.
if you're not a good creator, you're going to be going slow, but you will eventually get there.
Well, and I think it's not even just being a good creator. I think it's a lot of it too is consistency. I think I've been seeing a lot, like if you talk to people that like the big thing is you need to be consistent. You need to be consistently posting. And with vertical video, which is, as much as I don't like it, it's here to stay. I don't like it, guys, because it's a pain in the ass to film. To me, it is a pain in the ass to film.
And all those animations got to be perfect, because
it's got to fit within
you
got to fit within the screen, especially if you're trying to do yeah. Anyway, it's tough. You gotta make it work, but that means, again, hey, working within the confines, you gotta try to be creative with what you got, and there's definitely ways to be creative with it, and it's still, you have to have that you have to look forward to the fun part of trying to figure out a puzzle. As much as you want to kick and scream doing it, it's like, well, you gotta do it. But going back to subscribers and build it up, one of the things that I know I'm going to be trying to do is I know behind the scenes is always something that everybody really enjoys. I would love to, at some point, once the company grows, would be to always have a behind the scenes shooter that's always on set with us and filming the process. So we'll be getting some behind the scenes content. We'll also be getting some other of our micro content where I'm talking about different things, whether it be some trends coming up or whatever. I don't try to be too much of that guy. I'm not a specialist. I'm just I'm getting information that I know and sharing it, but it's not me saying, hey, as a professional marketer, here's some trends that are coming. No, I'm not going to try to do too much of that content. I'm not interested in that, but I am interested in maybe just breaking down the process and showing why we do what we do, because it helps. I think it also helps your audience kind of better understand why you are valuable. Mm-hmm. So let's say you are offering a premium service, if you get to show behind the scenes or show the process and breaking down your process, and then people, if they watch that, they go, oh, that's why they are this expensive. Mm-hmm. It makes sense. And okay, we're getting this kind of quality. Or for me, for a video production company, if they get to see, oh, these guys are really fun to work with. Oh, this is what the kind of quality they can do. Oh, cool. I get to watch. Here's the making of their video for their commercial. And then here's the final commercial. And that's what they made. That is so awesome. That is just gold. That's gold here's another thing to keep in mind. You don't want to just do only one type of video. You want to have as much as you can different types. So for me, it might be, hey, here's some behind the scenes on how we edited this, or here's some challenges and some things that we learned on this project. Here is some behind the scenes. Here is some travel vlogs. Here's some vlogging. You want to try to see if you can have some variation. And it is intimidating for anyone who doesn't know anything about video and is listening to this and going, oh God, do I need to do all of that? It depends if you really are serious about trying to be a content creator, or in this case, not even just a content creator, but you're just trying to grow a YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not that serious about trying to grow a YouTube channel, then don't worry about it. Just casually post. It's not. It's like it is. It's not the biggest thing if that's not your ambition. However, if you are ambitioning to try to grow and monetize the channel so that way it could be potentially something that you could make money on, then yes, you're gonna wanna make multiple forms of content. But there's a lot of things that are coming out to try to make micro content easier.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's exploding in popularity right now is AI. There's so many things with AI. It's actually scary how good these programs are, and it's only continuing. And yeah, jobs are being threatened by that, and it is a scary thing. But it's one I kind of look at it the same thing as like social media. The genie is out of the bag. Sorry, the genie is out of the bottle. It's not going back in. So you might as well try to take advantage of it and try to get yourself and propel you forward with a program that's going to make your life easier than not. And just work up from there. The future's uncertain, but the future is also exciting depending on how you view it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's darn near equalized. It's starting to become more of an equalized thing. And I mean, you brought up subscribers. That's the thing people don't realize is just having that network and the subscriber base. Like if you have well over 1,000, like if say you have, for example, this one guy I know lives up the street from here. He's got a YouTube channel of over 2 million subscribers. What does that mean? I don't know, because he's a very niche channel. And his subscribers it's very gaming. It's just kind of like...
gaming that's very popular. That's another thing too, guys. If you just want to have fun, if you can have a channel that's just fun-based and you really enjoy it and that's just a passion of yours, holy crap, you can totally... That's a wonderful, wonderful way to apply your energy, because then it's for fun. It's not for business. And you'll enjoy making those videos a lot more. And sometimes that's a great way to start. But yeah, go ahead, keep going.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I thought of that. I mean, people don't realize just by having, even if you have a YouTube channel. Well, let me digress. The gaming thing. So one thing I noticed about him is he is very niche in it's just Minecraft, 8 to maybe 12-year-old boys, and of course it makes sense. Like, they first get into Minecraft, they like him, they find him, they subscribe to him, and then they grow out of him, but he's stuck in that niche, but he keeps growing the subscriber base, but he's not getting more views than he does subscribers, so he's having issues with his content being competitive. So that's one way. I mean, just owning a niche like that. I mean, he's still getting the subscribers.
Right.
It's not like people... Barely does anybody go back and I'm going to unsubscribe from you, Mr. Rogers, because I subscribed for you. If Mr. Rogers was still around,
right?
If he was subscribable, it's not like I would unsubscribe from Mr. Rogers,
right? You just might grow out of his content, and you just go and you find a new content creator that you're driving with at that point. That's definitely me as well. Like I said, it takes a lot for me to dislike a video. It takes a lot for me to unsubscribe from a channel.
Yeah, it would take a lot. Yeah, that means you got to go back and do it. And also I've noticed that the analytics are kind of clunky too. Like they'll say you got some subscribers, then some disappear. Like who unsubscribes? I think it's just because of the algorithm it's just analytics.
Yeah, sometimes I will say that is something that is kind of odd too, where there's been times where it's like, wait a minute, I know I liked this video. Wait a minute, I know I subscribed to this channel. What happened? So that happens. But at the same time, that's usually because it's also been a large amount of time since I last watched that video or been at that channel. So I don't know. I'm not sure why that is, but also not like butthurt about why is my like and my subscription not there still. It's like, it's not a big deal. Just re-like and resubscribe.
Oh yeah, and another thing that people don't realize is even if you don't monetize through YouTube and say you have a pretty solid subscriber base, you can still make money off of that in many other affiliate marketing ways, like whether it's Amazon reviews and hey everybody, click the link in the video description.
Affiliate links.
Yeah, affiliate links, all that stuff. And it makes me think about things because the adage in Hollywood, like whenever you make a film, even if it flops, everybody makes money. That's what I think about, like for funding a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's for a movie. It's varied. It's tough because the thing with movies is that you definitely want to make sure there's a return. You need to have that money up front as much as you can because people still need to get paid whether you're taking out. Hopefully, you're not taking out a loan or anything like that. But I mean, movies got to get made somehow. Sometimes like they're going into whatever savings or something to pay for it. I mean, when it comes to the earnings of a movie, it depends. There's so many. There's definitely the box office helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It does. At the same time, I definitely this is a whole nother conversation, but I definitely believe that the box office earnings, that at least the cut between the percentage that the tickets that the studios take versus the theaters is way too high. It's way too high. It's actually killing movie theaters. It's making it so difficult for people to go watch the movies.
Mm-hmm.
There was not to stay on this topic too long, but
Mm-hmm.
like Cineworld for they had a day. It was like Cineworld Day, which was owned by Regal, and Regal right now is filing for bankruptcy. I believe it's pretty sad, but
Yeah.
they're like the second largest movie theater chain in the world. The they had this Cineworld Day that was for every ticket was $5, and it was one of the biggest turnouts in their company's history. Why? Because people still want to go to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not very many people can afford to pay for it. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people forget that, like, well, look, the reason why concessions are so expensive, that's how they make the money.
Mm-hmm.
If the tickets if there wasn't like an 80-20 split, and I kid you not, it's like sometimes even more than that.
Mm-hmm.
Where I used to work at a movie theater, movie guy, so I used to manage a movie theater, and I know that like there's sometimes, especially when you have big companies like Disney, they take like a 70 to 80% like cut of every ticket, if not more. And you can't say no. You're gonna say no to a Disney movie? You got no choice. So that's why the concessions have to be as expensive as they are, and that's why it makes it difficult for families to go. Otherwise, if it was an affordable price where the movie theater could make money and the studio is certainly going to make money, the studio may not make as much money, but if it's affordable and it's good, people will go and watch it. And it's when it comes to independent films, yeah, you need a distributor if you're going to put it in more theaters. But a lot of times, if you're entering into a film festival, you're competing with other independent films that try to get bought by a bigger studio who is also a distributor, and then they will buy that. You get your payout, and they get the rights, and they make the money going off this theatrical film release, unless you come up with some kind of deal with them. But I don't know. They're the ones usually holding all the cards at that point. Like, okay, you have this price or you don't have this price. What do you want? Because we can go and spend this money on someone else if you don't want us to buy your movie. It's tough. It can feel like the bully in the room, but it's like, gotta do what you gotta do. And there's plenty of creative ways to try to get funding. There's things that you can have a GoFundMe. You can go and do things like that, but those are usually, again, unless you got a fan base, those are really tough to do for entertainment purposes, or if you're trying to do a startup company and you're trying to provide some kind of new tech. Trying to go and just shoot a short film or a movie doesn't mean they don't happen. They do. There was a YouTuber that just recently, he was a movie critic, and he really recently was able to get like $1 million+ to go and fund his horror film. Funny enough, his name is Chris Stuckman. He is a movie reviewer on YouTube. He's been on YouTube for years, and his ambition is always to go and be a feature film director and writer, and he's finally doing it. There's another YouTuber I know that he's Danny Gervitz, and he just also recently came out with a feature film. Well, it's not out yet, but he just picture locked it, which means he just finished editing it. It's done. Now it's being sent out, and they're going to try to see if they can get into theaters or maybe fish around to see if someone wants to buy it. But he's got a documentary series just on the making of his film. It looks incredible. I'm excited for both. So there definitely are more ways that don't require you to go through the studios to get your film made. So it like I said, it requires you to be creative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like you said, it almost seems in a way like it could be too easy to make a movie. But at the same time, I mean, if you eliminate all the factors like getting filming rights, or a lock in the type of film, where is it going to be shot at? Yeah, you could probably make a cheap movie, but I think that would be really exciting too, just to be in some form of a production and take it to a film festival and just watch how it competes in an independent film festival.
Right, and that's fun too. Again, going back to, yes, it's good. Everybody wants to win. But if you go into it and like, hey, look, we did this as a passion project. We want to get responses. We want to get conversation going. Because that's only, like, if you have ambitions to try to endeavor, try to just not just that be a passion project, because everybody, there's so many stories about people that, yep, we funded it, we made it, and now it just sits on my shelf. We didn't do anything else with it. Like, if you're smart with it, and this is where having some marketers on hand, you want to promote that. Mm-hmm. You don't want to just stop after it goes through a theatrical run. If it gets a theatrical run, you need to promote it. Mm-hmm. You need to promote it. You need to be smart in promoting it. Whether it's in your local area or if it's in your local city or just like wherever you can, however you can, not trying to break the bank, but you need to promote it. And there's a lot, like you said, there's a lot of unique ways that you can get funding or you can make money from creating your independent films. Even shorts. I used to believe there's no way anyone's making money from shorts. There's no way. Those are totally passion projects. There's no one's going into a movie or a short film to watch for like 15 to 20 minutes and they're going to pay a ticket for that. There's no way. Well, turns out that that's not entirely true. I found out somebody they were interviewing him. I think it was on the channel. I think it's called Film Hustle on YouTube. And he talked about how he makes money from going and creating shorts. And I went, what? And the way he does it is he actually gets a bunch of he goes and makes a lot of shorts. And those shorts can vary anything from 5 minutes all the way up to like almost an hour and 30. I saw it was extended. I think the Motion Picture Association, I think they actually went and changed the parameters of what is considered a short film, because it used to be like it could be anything under like, I think it was like an hour and 13 minutes. I think if it's under that, it's considered a short film, which you'd think like, interesting. So it's basically a TV episode. But yeah, it's now changed to now it's like it's more than that.
I wonder what the future of those sort of older school associations are going to turn into, like the film actors, or
the Film Actors Guild.
Yeah,
the Directors Guild. It's interesting. Who really knows, right? Like, I endeavor to get into that industry to start working on some stuff, but I'd also like to, what I have been doing, be able to, all right, cool, I've had enough for right now. I want to take a break and go do my own projects, not be a part of the studio system if I need to take a break, and if I want to jump back into it, I can. But that's why I would love to, for me, if I have my own film production company, business, animations and video games, I'd love to be able to just tell stories in those mediums as well. But because you never know, who knows how those industries, how those guilds, how those places are going to change and adapt over time. Everyone has to, and I'm sure they will. But to go into the question, what will they look like? Yeah, it's a good question. Well, what will they look like? What we don't know. Things change every year, and they can. And who really knows? Like, even 2 years away from now is forever away. You never know. It gets here sooner than you think when you don't think about it, but it is still forever away. A lot can happen within that time.
Well, that's true. And well, Nick, 2 hours is up. So.
Oh, is it? I could not tell.
Yeah, we've been talking for 2 hours now. Flies by. Yeah, but I enjoy it. But hey, everybody, this episode should be available. I told you I was going to put it on the website. I also forgot I put it on YouTube too. There's it's not sexy. It'll just show the thumbnail and blank audio. It'll just show the audio with blank screen.
I guess that's what you gotta do, right? Just download it, people. Just download it, play it in the background.
Well, as of now, YouTube is actually the only place. Well, the other podcasts I've done, I have like video that I mesh with the, and they could be like little bits and pieces and whatever. I mean, you could see it at the channel, but so far, YouTube has been the easiest place for me to upload my. I mean, short of taking an audio file, then turning it into a video file, and then uploading the video file on YouTube. That seems to be the easiest way. Well, no, you would think that this thing called an RSS feed that runs from your website, that you take the website's HTML URL address and you put RSS or whatever. And it's supposed to update to Spotify and Apple. I'm still working on Apple and Spotify, trying to get those syndicated on those platforms. So it says I have it on Spotify, but the data is it's slow. I don't know. The only thing for sure I can get it on is YouTube and my website itself. And of course, I distribute it out amongst all 41. I got 41 different platforms that I put it out there. So sit there and yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Nick Allard, everyone. Theta Studios.
Theta State Studios.
Theta State Studios.
Yep.
All right, people. Thank you. And so long.
So long.
Like, share, and subscribe.